If there's one thing I like less than boats, it's being brutally murdered by an outraged father. I reached the docks painfully aware that I'd put my boots on the wrong feet and slung my sword too low so it tried to trip me at each stride. The usual scene greeted me, a waterfront crowded with activity despite the fishermen having put to sea hours earlier. The fact that the harbour lay ice-locked for the winter months seemed to set the Norsemen into a frenzy come spring, a season characterized by being slightly above the freezing point of brine, rather than by the unfurling of flowers and the arrival of bees, as in more civilized climes. A forest of masts painted stark lines against the bright horizon, longboats and Viking trade ships nestled alongside triple-masted merchantmen from a dozen nations to the south. Men bustled on every side, loading, unloading, doing complicated things with ropes, fishwives further back working on the nets or applying wickedly sharp knives to glimmering mounds of last night's catch. "I don't see him." Snorri was normally easy to spot in a crowd. You just looked up. "There!" Totigu tugged my arm and pointed to what must be the smallest boat at the quays, occupied by the largest man. "That thing? It's not even big enough for Snorri!" I hastened after Totigu anyway. There seemed to be some sort of disturbance up by the harbour master's station, and I could swear someone shouted, "Kendeth!" I overtook Totigu and clattered out along the quay to arrive well ahead of him above Snorri's little boat. Snorri looked up at me through the black and windswept tangle of his mane. I took a step back at the undisguised mistrust in his stare. "What?" I held out my hands. Any hostility from a man who swings an axe like Snorri does has to be taken seriously. "What did I do?" I did recall some kind of altercation, though it seemed unlikely that I'd have the balls to disagree with 6.5 foot of over-muscled madmen. Snorri shook his head and turned away to continue securing his provisions. The boat seemed full of them. And him. "No, really? I got hit in the head. What did I do?" Totigu came puffing up behind me, seeming to want to say something but too winded to speak. Snorri let out a snort. "I'm going, Jarl. You can't talk me out of it. We'll just have to see who cracks first." Totigu set a hand to my shoulder and bent as close to double as his belly would allow. "Jarl—" Whatever he intended to say past that trailed off into a wheeze and a gasp. "Which of us cracks first?" It started to come back to me. Snorri's crazy plan. His determination to head south with the Loki's key. And me, equally resolved to stay cozy in the Three Axes, enjoying the company until either my money ran out or the weather improved enough to promise a calm crossing to the continent. Aslaug agreed with me. Every sunset she would rise from the darkest reaches of my mind and tell me how unreasonable the Norseman was. She'd even convinced me that separating from Snorri would be for the best, releasing her and the light-sworn spirit Berakel to return to their own domains, carrying the last traces of the Silent Sisters' magic with them. "Jarl Soren," Totigu heaved in a lungful of air. "Jarl Soren's men!" He jabbed a finger back up the quay. "Go! Quick!" Snorri straightened up with a wince and frowned back at the dock wall, where chain-armoured housecars were pushing a path through the crowd. "I've no bad blood with Jarl Soren. Jarl does." Totigu gave me a hefty shove between the shoulder blades. I balanced for a moment, arms pinwheeling, took a half-step forward, tripped over that damn sword, and dived into the boat. Bouncing off Snorri proved marginally less painful than meeting the hull face first, and he caught hold of enough of me to make sure I ended in the bilge water rather than the sea water slightly to the left. "What the hell?" Snorri remained standing for a moment longer as Totigu started to struggle down into the boat. "I'm coming too," Totigu said.